If you plan on getting the All Park Passport and you haven't purchased your season pass yet, we could save you a lot of money. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members: Aaron Board, 330T, Logan Lipper, Brian Hauser, Lil Mac 21, Miss Mandy 1983, Jacob Fix, Stephen Horneck, Damon Barnes, and Eric Grau. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics as a Prestige member on YouTube. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to content, exclusive live streams, and some tiers get some free stuff. So if you're interested in supporting the show, there's a link in the description.
So Ryan, a money-saving option, significant savings if you have not already bought or renewed your season pass for the 2025 season. So I'm all ears. How can I do that?
Okay, so I was shopping around for my season pass, because I have not yet renewed, and I made a discovery, and this is not new, but I think the magnitude of it is something that people need to know about, because if you can save this money, then you should. Now, this is mocking up my situation for what I would personally buy. Your results may vary, but check this out. So this is my normal gambit: Gold Pass, Meal Plan, Drink Plan Plus, and the All Park Passport. So we're doing the math here, and we're going to assume that I buy the last year I did not buy the All Park Passport. I didn't have plans to go to another park, so I didn't buy it. So the prices as they stand now are $140 for this season pass for the Gold Pass, $145 for the Meal Plan, $51.99 for the Drink Plan Plus. That includes coffee, hot chocolate, and slushies. And again, the All Park Passport is not on there, so that's $336.99. Now, our friendly neighbors to the north, the Canadians, a Gold Pass there, $115. Meal Plan, $165. Drink Plan Plus, $51.99. And then the All Park Passport is $90. So that totals out to $421.99 Canadian. So next slide here. This is as of the conversion that I did right before the show. So the Canadian to US dollars conversion as of January 16th, 2025, for $421.99 Canadian is $316.49 US. So if I bought a Gold Pass from Kings Island with those particular add-ons and did not buy the All Park Passport, it's $336.99. If I buy the Canadian Gold Pass with the All Park Passport, which would get me into Kings Island after the conversion, is $316.49. It's a little bit cheaper. So now a couple disclosures here. This is involving an exchange rate that varies by the day, by the second. So these numbers are subject to change. The pricing subject to change. And you have to make sure that your debit or credit card doesn't charge some sort of absorbent fee. Most of them don't. Mine doesn't, but I would call them for further information. So with that being said, Don, you can essentially get an All Park Passport for free. Yeah.
So it looks to me like it's about $2 that the difference was $2 in what you had to put toward the All Park Passport. Use the word free, but essentially a $2 difference and over $100 that you're saving overall, right?
Well, if you look at the final numbers here, the way that they converted today, because when we were looking at this the other day, it was a little bit different. But with the conversion today, it's actually a little bit cheaper to get it out of Canada with the All Park Passport. $316.49 versus $336.99. These are both American dollars.
Okay.
So yeah, the numbers have changed a little bit. Again, this is with a currency conversion, so it's subject to change. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter because these numbers will change, but the savings is significant. The caveat, there's two different caveats that you need to know about. You have to get the All Park Passport. If you buy the Canadian or the Canada's Wonderland Gold Pass, it's not going to get you into your local park unless you have the All Park Passport. The other thing is that to my knowledge, pass perks are only good for your home park. So if you purchase this, you would not get pass perks. So if pass perks are enough of a value to you, where you would be willing to spend the extra money, then have at it. But if they're not, and to me, I thought they were cool, but not like huge savings. But leaving huge savings on the table, cool. It just wasn't worth it to me. I mean, we know a friend of ours, Daniel, bought the Gambit, as I call it. He bought the pass, the All Park Passport, the all season fast lane, the drink plan, the meal plan, and all these stuff. Like, there's always a caveat, because if you get the meal plan and you get the All Park Passport, the meal plan costs a little extra. So these numbers, by the way, include those justifications. So the meal plan out of Canada costs more because I added the All Park Passport in the shopping cart. The one out of Kings Island is cheaper because I did not add the All Park Passport. So I think the drink plan is the same.
But if you'd have bought the All Park Passport for Kings Island, I mean, that's where your real savings comes into play too, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's really kind of a wash when it comes to the All Park Passport. So my thought with it is, I didn't buy the All Park Passport last year, but this year it's like, might as well risk it, I mean, and my understanding is that if you load if you get a Canada's Wonderland Gold Pass and you load it into your Kings Island app, it shows up as a Kings Island Pass anyway. So it's not like you stand out or anything like that. But can you think of any reason not to do this?
Not if you're looking to save money. And I think if you're a family of, say, 3 or 4, I mean, that savings becomes, pretty substantial.
I agree. Yeah. And so this is just for one individual, and I'm buying the enthusiast Gambit, let's put it that way. So it's like, of course I'm going to get the meal plan. Of course I'm going to get the drink plan. But if you tack on that All Park Passport, you save 35%. Not the All Park Passport. I'm sorry. The all season fast lane, you're saving like $300 on that thing, So,
yeah. I mean, it's certainly something that if you haven't bought or renewed, that you have to take a look at.
Yeah.
If you're interested in saving money.
Yeah.
And it all works the same. As long as you get the All Park Passport with that you can still visit Kings Island as often as you did, this year.
Yeah. So there's
last year.
Right. Yeah. Now, it's this year until opening day of 2025. And that's when my brain shifts as well. Yeah. So you take a picture on the app and stuff, and that's how you process it. So it's not like you have to visit your home park first or anything like that. So I don't see a downside to this. And another cool thing about it, though, is it's particularly easy to accept it out of Canada this time because they're putting in a pretty cool looking coaster. So it'd be nice to kind of like throw some shade their way, when
the way that Cedar Point did Media Day is worth noting, that you had to be a Cedar Point pass holder to be able to go when they did Top Thrill 2 last year. So if they do that same kind of a setup at Canada's Wonderland for the season pass preview days, you'd be able to get into Canada's Wonderland Media Day. Whereas if you bought your pass at Kings Island or somewhere else, maybe you don't, which a lot of pass holders found last year at Cedar Point. They couldn't go to the pass holder days.
Yeah, it was that was one of the more poor decisions. They didn't treat the pass holders right. They didn't treat the Prestige pass holders right, but nobody cares about them. By the way, with Prestige, if I bought everything and upgraded to Prestige, that was basically free too. So if you're going to get the Prestige pass, especially, now hear me out, because I've dogged on the Prestige pass for 2 years now.
But
if you're going to get the All Park Passport and everything else, and you want the Prestige pass essentially for free, if you buy Prestige out of Canada, and then buy, you're got to make sure you get your All Park Passport and all that stuff, it's pretty much free. So I don't think this is in any way skirting the system. I don't think there's anything morally wrong with this. Um, they have to be aware that this is a possibility. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's not skirting the system. I don't think. I mean, it's an opportunity, and I think
Mhm.
you have to look at it. And I talked to someone else who did the same thing. They bought their season pass. They renewed out of Canada's Wonderland. Uh, you got to call it a business decision,
Right.
and when you make this transaction, it is a business decision if you want to buy a pass to a park or not. So why not make the best possible business decision? I mean, the parks are all looking at ways to save money, as we're finding with all these budget cuts. So why can't the pass holder, right?
I mean, I just see it this way. If, the last couple of years, Kings Island's given us the minimum viable product, then I've paid the minimum viable amount for a gold pass with an all park passport, you know? And that, with that being said, if Kings Island, if they were putting in big investments and stuff like that, I'd probably be too loyal and too excited to even consider something like this. But we're getting kind of like a water slide, and then a family thrill the following year, and meanwhile Canada up north is really rocking it out. So I think we owe them a pat on the back and a nice, like, I don't know, cup of maple syrup or something, because
That is a really nice park if you've never been there. I
I have
mean, it's
not been
it,
there. It's my
it's
home
beautiful.
park. It's my home and native park, as they may say up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful park. They've got a great collection of rides. The thrill rides are all excellent. Um, Food, pretty good. It's been a few years since I've been there, but I've been able to, um, those memories are still fresh in my mind of what the park looked like. And then, talking to different friends that, at least go there once or twice a year. I have some friends up in the Michigan area that go there, once a month. I have some friends that live near Toronto and are regulars there. And, they're all pretty excited about, you know, what the park has to offer every year. They like the entertainment, they like the rides, they like the food, everything about it. So I've not heard any real negatives about Canada's Wonderland, from anyone really. Everyone seems to go there and have a good time.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to check it out. They might have a welcome banner for me, with it being my home park and all. If I go
Yeah,
this route, of course.
I got to update my passport if I would head there.
You need to update your passport and get the all park passport. That's two
Yeah,
different
yeah, I let
passports
that
you need to get.
expire, so I've got to update it if I'm going to try to get to Canada's Wonderland this year, and I should. I mean, I haven't been there for a while. I got to go back.
Yeah, yeah, I've got to make it up there. I'd love to see it, but uh, for those click clacking away at the comments, and I'm sure you've already done it. Of, oh, everyone knows about this. I understand that. First of all, not everybody knows about this. We wanted to make sure that everybody knew about this. Second of all, I feel like I was always in the impression that you saved a little bit of money, not like a significant amount of money. I don't really follow Canadian currency that closely, and I imagine you don't either. But
No,
but give it a whirl, do the math, ask Siri to do the conversion for you, and then you'll see. You'll see. Okay. Let's do a buy or sell. I think I read this one.
you
Yeah,
do.
I do read this one. Okay. So the buy or sell is Soak City Water Park becomes a separate ticket. Don, do you buy or sell?
I'm going to sell because since 1989, when the water park first opened, it has been included with park admission. That has been for so long, part of the marketing message: two parks, one price. I don't think you could walk away from that without significant backlash. And there's a lot of people. One of the reasons Kings Island has the season pass base that it does is because of Soak City Water Park. I do not think they could go back on that.
Correct. There's no way. There's no way to do it. And what they could do um, is they can make it so you have to have like a gold pass rather than a silver pass to get in. But that's adding a lot of infrastructure for something that, I mean, they've been pushing silver passes recently, but the reality is, like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have gold. I don't even know anybody that doesn't have that has prestige anymore. Everybody has gold. You know?
Yeah, it's a formula that has worked. You know, it's not broke, so I wouldn't try to fix it by making that a separate gate.
Yeah. Cool.
That's just us, though.
That's yeah. So I'm agreeing. We're both selling. Let's talk some headline news, Don.
Well, more than 900 feet of track on the mighty Canadian Mindbuster at Canada's Wonderland. Just talking about that park. It's modeled after the Shooting Star that was at Cincinnati's Coney Island. It's being replaced this winter. That 900 feet of track being replaced. The Gravity Group, our good friends, you know, they're based here in Cincinnati. They're installing that pre-cut track that they did on both the Beast and the Racer. They've done some reprofiling of the ride, so this is going to ensure that the mighty Canadian Mindbuster is a much smoother ride experience. It's another reason why I would be excited to get to Canada's Wonderland would be to ride this after the track work and reprofiling by the Gravity Group.
Yeah, they do amazing work. We've seen it on the Racer and the Beast, and then they got some love over there for at King's Domain. Was it Grizzly? Was that the ride that got
King's
the
Domain,
treatment?
yeah.
And super happy about that. But good for Gravity Group and good for Canada's Wonderland. Potentially my home park and potentially yours. T-shirts, Don. T-shirts.
Tower Topics T-shirts for 2025. They come in a green, and it's just $22. That includes shipping. If you want one, well, just drop us a DM on our X, which is Tower_Topics. Give us a follow there if you're not already following us, or you can email me direct, Don Helbig at themeparksbydon.com. Once we get either your message through X or you email me, I'll send you the QR code. And once the transaction goes through, it's just a matter of days before you get your shirt, whatever size you might need. And you'll join the growing number of people that have a Tower Topics t-shirt.
$22 including shipping. Good deal. And it's a wicked green, by the way.
Wicked clarify. Green, yes.
The wicked green. We coined that term. All right. We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right. First listener question. Rich from Loveland, Ohio. And this is why I should screen these. Who is this Bill Ware guy who's been constantly taking shots at Don on Reddit? What's his deal? Did he miss out on a media day invite or something?
Yes, he did, as a matter of fact. Diamondback Media Day. Brian, you might remember it from 2009. There was a mandate that was given to me by the park's general manager that this was not going to be open to the coaster enthusiasts, to the influencers and those other, types that you would traditionally have at a media day event. The reason being was the next day was going to be the park's first rider auction for Diamondback. They were looking to raise money for a kid again. And the thought was, and rightfully so, that nobody would bid to be one of the first riders on opening day if they were already there on media day for free because they were a member of one of the coaster enthusiast groups that were invited. So I was told that I could have a select number of people representing different groups. I could have a couple of ACE members, a couple from Great Ohio Coaster Club, a couple from Coaster Crew. I could have KI Central could have a couple of representatives, but my number was maybe 15 to 20 that I could work with, and I needed to use those wisely. And what I chose to do was we had the satellite truck, so we were going to try to get outside of the backyard with the news that Diamondback was going to open that weekend. So I had a couple of enthusiasts representing like Louisville, Detroit, Indianapolis, Columbus, Chicago, Atlanta, some of those different, West Virginia. So that's who I was using my numbers, for to fill those spots. And it turned out to be the right decision because we ended up raising over $100,000, $102,000 for a kit again, which at the time set a record for the most amount raised for a first rider auction in the entire industry. So we were very proud of that. Went for a great cause. Some people were not happy, that normally got to go to media days, but they understood, what the reasoning was. Bill did not understand what the reasoning was, and kind of went on a rampage. And from that time on, I was no good at my job at PR. I was no good at this, no good at that, worst ever in the park's history. And any opportunity where Bill could blast me, he would, whether that was on Kings Island Central forums or, now Reddit, Kings Island's Facebook group, wherever he could go, he would, take his shots. But, Bill, this has been, as of the dropping of this episode, this has been 5,757 days that you've been carrying around that axe to grind. An axe has got to be, pretty heavy by now. Put it down, let it go, and try to understand. I don't know what part of we couldn't do it because of the first rider auction. You continually have had trouble understanding. It was nothing personal. It was in the best interest of the first rider auction. The mandate, came from above me, and there was a lot of people I had to say no to, but they haven't carried that axe around for nearly 5,800 days though. They let it go. They understood. And many of them were part of that first rider auction event, which again raised a lot of money. And that's whenever you see Bill going on the attack, that's where it centers around. It's just that he didn't get to go to Diamondback Media Day and hasn't been able to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, and what sucks was like I was pretty good friends with them until this, but from his perspective, and I've tried to tell him otherwise, but I mean, I haven't really spoken to him in a decade or so. But you mentioned that you had people in from, other parts of the country. Well, one of the people that you brought in was a mutual friend of me and Bill's that we introduced to you from Indianapolis. And so he came, and I remember normally, like when you would do it was a pretty open season for like Han invites. It's like, oh, bring 4 people or whatever. But for this, it was Ryan is invited. It's not Ryan plus 1. It's not, are you having chicken or fish?
And you were the media director for KI Central, so you got the invite.
So Dane was invited and I was invited. Like I was not Dane's plus 1 to it. He was not mine. We were individually invited. But I think that he is still under the belief that we chose to bring the friend from Indianapolis as opposed to bringing him.
No. I needed, if I localized Diamondback to the Indianapolis market, those 4 stations were going to do morning hits, with this individual about Diamondback and how excited they were. And you made it to where, you localize it for those out of market stations by having an individual, like our friend from Indianapolis or like our friend from Detroit, our friend from Louisville. And that's what that was about. Now, in terms of him saying, I'm terrible at this, I was terrible at that, the worst in the park's history, I think, my resume, stacks up well with anybody that, worked in the industry during the years that I did it. So I don't really pay any attention to Bill on that end because, anyone, all they need to do is look at all the things Kings Island did during the years I was in that role and all the coverage and things that they got. So, there's that Bill too. But, I really just, I don't understand why people would hold a grudge for that long. It was just the opportunity to be there that morning, and he got to ride it the next day. It wasn't the end of the world, so again, just let it go. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, really.
I like how
you got to understand the situation, too. I mean, we weren't able to invite, the world. I wasn't able to open it up. Now, after the front page of the Cincinnati Enquirer had a train with, just 4 or 5 people on it that were from like Mason City Council, and a couple other people that, maybe worked at the park, and it wasn't a full train. That changed it when, for when Banshee was getting ready to open. At that point in time, I was allowed to invite, the coaster enthusiasts. I could open at the Ace, I could open at the Great Ohio Coaster Club, and we had over 2,000 people that were coaster enthusiasts from these different clubs that came out, for Banshee's Media Day on a very cold morning, from what I remember. And so it was a different situation then. And the first rider event, we made it because there was going to be so many people riding it during the day. It wasn't going to be you were the first rider; you were going to be the first night riders at that event. But for Diamondback, in order to protect the integrity of the first rider auction and really being pretty much the first riders, we just couldn't have everybody there. Like I said, most, they were disappointed, but they understood, what the reason was, and they moved on and enjoyed the ride the next day, and have come to future media events at Kings Island since.
Yeah. Next listener question. Why don't you read it?
This one comes from Bernie, Hamilton, Ohio. He says, "What do you think about the current state of Kings Island, and do you think the park is desperate for a new star attraction to carry the brand? I love the Beast, but it's time for a new star attraction to take over."
I'm torn on this. I do believe that the park could really benefit from that ride that everybody needs to ride. They need their Fury 325 or Volcano the Blast Coaster, one of those that it's like, because they have the Beast, but it's 50 years old now almost. So a lot of people have ridden it. The other part of it, so in that regard, I'd say yes. The other side of it, though, is the way that Six Flags as a whole is doing it is, even if they got like Siren's Curse, like that would have been such a huge buildup and such a huge announcement and just so cool for something like with a cool theme and a new concept for a ride and a ride that looks awesome, but it like quietly dropped on social media because that's the way we do things now. So from that standpoint, I don't think the park would have the payoff that they would expect to have for investing a ton of money into a ride. But from like, an overall like holistic standpoint, yeah, I think that the park is lacking something where it's like, this is the new modern shiny thing that everybody needs to do. What are your thoughts?
I think there's so many locals that go to Kings Island a lot that, yeah, they might get fatigued on the Beast. They might be, they want something new every year. So I think from that perspective, you see that kind of sentiment out there. For me, I know that the Beast, even though, it is 46 this year, there are still a lot of people. Every year there's new people getting interested in this hobby. And there's a lot of people around the world that haven't been to Kings Island and they haven't ridden the Beast. So it's still a major draw. Is it the draw that it was in 1979? No, but it's still a better draw than many rides that are out there that are only maybe a year or two old. So it still does the job for Kings Island. But yeah, something like, the park's Fury 325, that would be, that'd be a nice addition to Kings Island. And I think it would be a nice, transition from the Beast to that kind of a ride as the Beast continues to get older.
Yeah.
Still a great ride, but I think, that would be a nice transition. But
I honestly can't really pinpoint what as far as like the new ride that we need, because we're going to get people in the comments that are like, rebuild Phantom Theater or that Intamin floor thing. Like people have come up with a concept of Phantom Theater for that and stuff like that, which would be great for like Pie in the Sky. I don't think that has the marketability that people think it does.
It does, and it's not going to get people. Yeah, it's not going to get people coming from all over, the United States and Canada, Europe to come to Kings Island to experience that. They do for the Beast. They still do. They would if there was a Fury 325 at Kings Island. They certainly would do that. So, it'd be nice to see, but I don't think it has to happen. I think they can still market and promote the Beast. They don't really do do much with that. It's just kind of um, there. But anytime that the Beast is used in any type of social media post, it lights up the scoreboard. With the engagement. And anytime that there's anything going on with the Beast, uh, an anniversary or something else with it, the news media, they pick it up and it makes it outside the backyard net. I mean, so there's still a lot there. So I would still be using that ride in marketing materials and pushes and everything like that, because it's still still a special ride. Still has the record. It's the longest wooden roller coaster out there. So why not leverage that and still make use of it? But sometimes it's just kind of in the background, and you don't really see it anymore, being that featured ride in any of like the print ads or the social post or anything like that. It's always about what's the newest thing. But sometimes I like to refer to those as silver and gold. Some of those new rides that come in, they're silver. Orion, silver. um, Cargo Loco, Soulspin, silver. Snoopy Soapbox Racer, silver. But the Beast, that's gold. So I would continue to market that if I was the park.
I think so too. I don't think that fully answers the question though.
No,
That's, I think the problem is
I
you're
think it would be
torn like
tough.
me.
I think it would be tough. I think it'd be tough to have something come in to Kings Island to actually replace the Beast. I think it would. That's the hard part. Even if you had a Fury 325, would it be? Or would it just share the spotlight, like that? So I don't know. I mean, I think it would just be tough to come up with a ride that's going to, take the mantle. And this is now why everybody's coming from around the world to visit.
Well, I don't think that the spirit of the question that Bernie's asking, the way that I'm reading it at least, like I think he's saying like, because we've said several times on the show that like the Beast is still the most marketable ride, and he's saying like I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think what he's trying to ask is, do you think the park?
What's a new star? Yeah.
Well, yeah, like a new star attraction, but again, like you talk
about. They've tried though, and they tried thinking Diamondback was going to be that answer. People love Diamondback, but it's still the Beast. They thought Banshee was going to be that answer. Still the Beast. They thought Orion for sure. This one's going to take the title. Still the Beast. So they've tried. It's not because they haven't tried.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think that maybe that they had their expectations a little too high for two of the three. Because Diamondback and Banshee, people still, I mean, they're beloved. They really are.
Oh, they're beloved, right? They're great.
Well, part of it is that the Beast has the lore around it and stuff, and it's multi-generational now. Orion, I think, is popular amongst like the younger people to some regard, but I think that there are people that say this in the comments every time I bring this up, and I understand and I respect your opinion, but the reality is the vast majority of people, at least that I have talked to, if you compare Diamondback and Orion, they greatly prefer Diamondback. So
yep, that's been my experience since that ride opened in 2020, that everybody still favors Diamondback. Many people have asked the question, why did they do this? It's just a little bit bigger Diamondback.
The biggest, okay, if me or you or some coaster enthusiast, or if you've got just throwing like Elizabeth Ringus, the ACE president, saying that, then like that's one thing, because all of us, like, we know that they're very similar models, similar manufacturers, and so on. Not to throw Elizabeth under, but she hasn't said that, but I'm saying just as an example. But if the average person, that's 10, 12 years old, rides it and they're like, this is a lot like Diamondback, that's a problem. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Orion is in the wrong park. If you put that in almost any other park in the country, in the world, it would be a 5-star top tier attraction. At Kings Island, it's a not as good Diamondback. And maybe that's just because of the fact that Diamondback's so good, potentially.
Diamondback's excellent. I mean, I think there's things with Diamondback that aren't there. on Orion with the right experience. I mean, that abundance of airtime that you get on Diamondback, that's not there, with Orion. There's not really that signature, um, thing that everyone's calling out on Orion. Everybody mentions the airtime on Diamondback, but you don't have that, it's got a nice first drop, or it's fast, but you don't have anybody raving about one particular element. And I think that's what hurts that ride.
The charity rave was for that sideways airtime you get going into the brake run. And that was kind of like the good spot in the ride. Because like the first hill's fine. And sometimes that first hill hits and you're like, whoa, but the I don't know. I don't want to dog on the ride too much because I know that there are a lot of listeners that really
No, I mean
like
it's a great ride,
yeah.
but it's just there's just not enough difference between that and Diamondback, for me.
All right. Next listener question. Frank from Mason, Ohio. He said, for clarity, when Don set the single day records for riding the racer, 111 rides initially and later surpassing it to 112, did he stay on the ride continuously or did he have to exit the train and go back through the line each time? I attempted to break the record last summer, but since they require me to exit the train every time, I was only able to make it into the 60s if I rode all day.
My record on the racer was for non-consecutive rides. The park made sure that they pointed that out in every release about my milestone rides, was that I did not stay on the ride continuous. Every ride was non-consecutive. So that was something that the park could point to, and that was the rule back then too. I mean, if I was the only person in the station, I still had to go back around and come back through the queue again. There was no shortcuts. There was no just hanging out, up on the ride platform like some people did, and just kind of like pop back in a seat and you got on the same train. That didn't happen. So now, it was a different world then too with the trains. You had the buzz bars, no seat belts. People weren't bringing their luggage. It was quicker dispatches. There's not enough cycles now in the day, that you would be able to do that. They run one side until noon. They take a train off the other side at 8 o'clock. So you've got 4 hours there where it's one train or one side operation. So basically 2 train operation. That's going to slow you down too. So it would be incredibly hard for someone today to get 113 non-consecutive rides on the racer during a visit.
Yeah, different day and age. Next question, Don.
Yes, it is. The next question is from Nick, Deer Park, Ohio. And he says, is Mike Kuntz still the man to run Kings Island?
If your question is, do you think we would have a more positive outlook with somebody else at the helm? The answer is no. Because a lot of this is way out of the park's control. This, even if they remove rides, that's very publicly part of Project Accelerate. By the way, before people get mad about these ride removals, let's see what they're putting in to replace them. Before, so in hindsight, we could be like, I wish they had kept King of Ka, or they kept Anaconda or whatever, because they're not removing rides just to remove rides. They're removing rides to replace them with more modern rides. And this is the tough part of that transaction. With that being said, I do like Mike. I think he's a really, really nice guy. Do I agree with every decision he makes? No, of course not. But I don't agree with every decision you make, Don, or my boss makes, or my friends make, or whatever. So that doesn't really skew my opinion of him as a human being. From a leadership standpoint, I really can't offer up too strong an opinion because I haven't worked for him. So maybe I can turn to you for that. But our grim outlook into 2025 and maybe 2026 would not change if it was still Greg Scheid at the helm or somebody else. What are your thoughts?
No, I think Mike came in as a GM in 2017 and or late 2016, but the 2027 or 2017 season was his first full year. Uh, he was really good in terms of the little things around the park. Bringing things back. Redoing International Street, the fountain, bringing back the Glockenspiel, the antique cars. Really pushing hard for things like that. The nostalgia. I paid attention to what people were saying in the Facebook group for season pass holders, what KI Central, was doing. So he cared, about the guest experience, and a lot of those things that you see where the park looks great now. I mean, that's all Mike. It's a challenging time because a lot of these things, he gets blamed for the budget cuts. That's not coming from the park level. That's coming from above, and you got this much money, and you have to make some hard decisions. So sometimes you have what he's been tasked with, the money he has to spend. You see a show like Gazillion Bubbles, it has a very short run. You see, a week cut off of things like Grand Carnival.
Now put your
you see less shows, at Winterfest than you had before. Which is okay because there were too many. I think you couldn't do them all in one night anyway, so there was always too many there. But no, I think he's the right person to run Kings Island. I know there's definitely a lot of pressure and things coming from above. He's trying to do the best that he can with it. But based on the circumstances, I don't think you'd see any different results. If someone else came in, and you might see some other things that Mike excels at, really decline. And, he's pushed for the culinary experience to be, what it is and stuff. So my vote is, yeah, he's still the right guy to run Kings Island.
Yeah. So at the very worst, it wouldn't be better off with somebody else. At the very best, he is the right guy. So I think that's a net positive for Mr. Kuntz out there, because
yes,
honestly, we're in the mode where if you can just make it happen every day, then you're doing a good job. But
yeah, I mean, he was good with the the morale things.
He seems to be liked in general.
These different programs in place to recognize associates that are doing good work in that. So there's a lot of things that Mike brought to the table that have been very beneficial, and the retention and that they had, employees coming back. That number was going up, at the time I left, but we were seeing more returners every year, and a lot of that had to do with Mike.
Cool. Great question. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig. This is Tower Topics.